Half Moon Bay is a place defined by its contrasts. The contrast between rare, breathtaking natural beauty and grinding, back-breaking work in fertile but unforgiving fields. The contrast between open vistas, glimpses of California's simpler past, and the clotted traffic that reminds us daily of just how very quickly this community has grown and in many ways outgrown itself. Half Moon Bay is a place of diversity, tremendous Silicon Valley material wealth literally across Highway 1 from dense migrant housing. Some 600 children live here at the Moon Ridge Migrant Housing Project. For them, the public library is a gateway to the better future their parents seek.
The Coastside community represents a microcosm of the state of California. As such, we are like a living laboratory for the future of California. And like California, the Coastside faces challenges and opportunities. This library grant application is both. Our rather modest library, which seemed so ample 30 years ago when constructed, has now become the overburdened heart of the community.
Isolated by mountains to the east and the Pacific Ocean to the west, our 7,825 square foot library is the only such facility within a 270 square mile radius up and down the San Mateo County coast, from Montera to Pescadero. When it was built more than 3 decades ago, Half Moon Bay's library served a population of 3,500. It currently serves nearly 30,000 residents on the coast, an average of 600 visitors a day. To accommodate the enormous demands that accompany this growth, the library has undertaken measures as simple as eliminating book sales for lack of space, and as drastic as converting the lobby into much-needed shelf space for CDs and new release books.
Our library was built with a capacity for 28,000 volumes, and our collection now consists of over 60,000 volumes. That means our shelves are very crowded, filled to capacity. Every time we add a new book, another book has to be deleted to make room for it. We last year had to borrow over 32,000 items from other libraries to meet patrons' needs.
Sacrifices have been made time and time again. For example, the demand for more shelf space means a room once designated for community gatherings had to be eliminated. Now, special events, adult literacy programs, story times, technology training, and other activities must all take place in the 2-room library's main reading room. The result? A noisy, cramped, and frustrating environment for all. Collections, which are shelved very close together, are difficult to distinguish. There is no room for separate periodical and newspaper reading areas. Also, due to space limitations, books are often intermingled, placing adult reading material close to children's books and making it difficult for children to reach some volumes. The library lacks study areas for literacy tutoring, homeschooling, and small group school projects. And since shelving has been expanded to include the lobby area, there is little room for art, community, and historical displays.
Exterior lighting creates a glare that's disturbing to readers who are sitting in this area. And when we have programs in this area, it's often difficult to see because of the light from the windows.
Work surfaces and other areas of the library are worn, in part due to their close proximity to the ocean's destructive salt air. The building also suffers from poor interior lighting and is neither ADA compliant nor energy efficient. As a whole, the physical facility isn't up to the demands placed on it daily, particularly when the school bell rings. The only middle school serving a huge stretch of the San Mateo County coastside is located right next door to our library, offering an extremely valuable after-school resource to hundreds of children. At 3 p.m. every school day, these students roll into the library like a giant wave, swamping the small brick building and pushing it to its limits. At the center of it all, as constant and predictable as this daily high tide of students, are Half Moon Bay's extraordinary librarians. Physical constraints and extremely cramped workspaces limit the services available. Breathing room is desperately needed for this committed staff, which numbered 7 when the library was built and now includes over 10 full-time employees, as well as 4 library aides, a Project Read coordinator, and numerous volunteers. Our library circulates well over 250,000 books per year, 10 times the number it circulated when the library was built more than 30 years ago. Our extensive Spanish language collection is the largest in the San Mateo County Library System. For many among our fast-growing Hispanic population, such resources provide a critical first point of entry into mainstream American life. In short, the library is a community hub supported by a web of services, most notably the special working relationship it shares with our local public school district.
A common goal for the library and for the school district is to have a literate community, and that's both children and adults. So our memorandum of understanding addresses literacy at all levels. We have talked about incorporating homework centers in the library, adult literacy programs in the library, story times for preschoolers. Many of our students come to kindergarten without preschool experience, so being able to work cooperatively with the library to bring those students into a literate environment, into the library, would accentuate their skills for entering kindergarten.
Currently, the Half Moon Bay Library has nowhere to hold its daily storytime gatherings for mothers, infants, and preschoolers, except in the library's main reading room, which is frequently disrupted by the commotion.
I would just like to see a designated children's area so that we don't have to worry about our kids running over the entire library versus just in one specific area. And then so we don't disturb the other patrons.
One of the reasons why we have these small table groupings is not only to provide a small, contained, quiet workspace where one or two people can work together, but to have furniture that's small enough that I can throw it around. I have to move it every time that we have a story time. I do my baby story time in this area here and move all the tables out of the way. Do my preschool story time over there. And each time I have to find places to move these little tables and chairs to create enough floor space for my audience.
And it's not just youngsters who are underserved by our ill-equipped and overburdened library.
We have a large population of seniors. That it's probably more than 10% of our population. It's actually, I think it's closer to 15% of our population are seniors that are not working. These are not high-income folks. These are folks that live in senior fixed-income housing. So they're not getting in their car and driving over the hill. And there is no public transportation. There's one bus over in the morning and a bus back in the evening.
So far, the library has fulfilled all its required roles and done so with only 44 seats, when 125 are recommended. But the compromises at this point are becoming unmanageable, the risks too grave. We're talking about the community's future and how well future generations here will thrive.
Some people don't have computers, so that's why they need to come to a library. Like me, I don't have a computer.
Sometimes we take it for granted that all students have technology in their households, that they all have a computer, but that's not true. We've done surveys in the school district, and really only about 30 to 40% of our students have access to technology in their homes. The majority of our students do not. So many of the assignments they have in school now really depend on whether they're able to access that kind of technology.
Unfortunately, Half Moon Bay's window on technology is surprisingly limited. You can see it in the spaghetti of overloaded outlets. Unsightly power and data poles have been tacked up throughout the library as a conduit to various outdated workstations. The lines that form at the library's 13 computers are always long, and once on, many computer users find the service disappointingly limited.
These computers here, these are good. There's only 3 of them. The other internet stations around the library, they're old, they're slow, so I think we should get at least, 10, 20 maybe of these good, faster computers, because as you can see, there are people waiting for them all the time.
A plan that we have is to have a technology center in the library that would not only address the research areas for the students, but also to expand our adult literacy program. We have a software program that teaches English as a second language. And in the school district, it is currently only on a few machines in a very small area. So we're only able to accommodate 3 or 4 students an evening. If we were able to have a larger space and to join our personnel with the library, then we could greatly expand that program.
When this library was built in 1971, it was built for a population of 3,500. And there were 2 other libraries within 10 miles of here. There was one in Pescadero and one in El Granada. Those libraries are now gone, and the population that this one library serves is 29,000. That's 270 square miles. So there's no way that we can expect this small library to serve those people adequately.
By contrast to the rural coast, our suburban neighbors around the Bay Area share an abundance of resources within relatively short proximity. Along with easy access, they enjoy more square footage, more computer access, more shelf space, more of all the fundamental library infrastructure we desperately need. For these kids, it's not a question of limited or inadequate space, it's a question of having no space at all. For them, the Half Moon Bay Bookmobile is a lifeline, making stops at local elementary schools, post offices, senior housing, and a juvenile detention facility. The Bookmobile provides many residents their only contact with library services.
Transportation is a definite issue. Many of our families either have just one car, no car, just a bike, or don't drive, only one person drives. So getting access to a library is a good 25 minutes away for us. So the Bookmobile, what it does is it brings the library to us, and it provides a library service to our students that wouldn't get it otherwise.
And I love when I see the kids coming into the Bookmobile and they suddenly see a whole bunch of books or videos or cassettes or whatever they want. Their eyes are wide open and they're really enjoying what we have. I see the Bookmobile as another library.
It's really actually a very unique community because we are completely geographically isolated. And meaning we only have one road in and one road out, and those roads are tremendously congested, as well as a very limited amount of public transportation. So for a big segment of our community, the services that they get have to be offered here. We don't have movie theater, we don't have a lot of other, really a cultural center, we don't have a community college. This is the cultural and educational center of our community for 30 miles in every direction.
We have very few resources over here in our community that we can go to locally. We have to go over the hill for everything, and that takes so much time, and with little children you have to work it around your whole day, and you barely get over the hill for things. So the library is one of our greatest things that we have, and we really need it to be improved.
Because our coastal communities are so remote and spread out, finding public places in which to share and be together is especially important. The library is a crucial second home, a sort of community table at which everyone is welcome to gather.
The library has been, we may say, like a heart in this community that is pumping the blood for the knowledge of this community. But it's not only to acquire knowledge, but also socialize, to feel the roots of the history and the backgrounds, and to make emphasis on all the values of the community.
I feel like the library is like my house, like my instructor to learn. So twice a week, we always visit the library with the whole family.
We are fishermen and nurserymen, soccer moms and mom-and-pop shop owners, high-tech commuters, blue-collar workers, and artists. We are a community that includes people who are both highly educated and an equally large population of people who are grappling with literacy, trying to enfranchise themselves by learning to use the English language. We are a small, rural town in a dense metro area, sometimes a quaint hamlet, other times overwhelmed by the stress of rapid change and tight quarters that are growing tighter all the time.
I remember as a teen that we worked cutting flowers like irises, tulips, and so on. As a first-generation immigrant, I was not aware of the Half Moon Bay Library when I first started working here. It could have been 1,000 miles away. Once I discovered the services of public libraries, I discovered a brand new world. And I feel that if kids, whether it be 2 or 15, if they can discover what I discovered in the public libraries, I think they'll be better citizens in the future.
Because of our diversity, we need